Something is about to happen on Monday morning that almost nobody watching the markets right now is prepared for. Not a crash, not a crisis. Something quieter, and in some ways more dangerous, because quiet moves are the ones that catch people off guard. Right now, silver is sitting around $58 an ounce. That number alone tells a story most people have forgotten. Just 7 months ago, on January 29th, silver touched an all-time high above $121 an ounce, a level that stunned even veteran commodity traders who had covered this metal since it traded for pocket change in the 1980s. Since that peak, silver has fallen by more than half. If you only look at the headlines, you'd think the silver story is over. You'd think the excitement, the mania, the silver squeeze energy from earlier this year has completely faded away, replaced by disappointment and quiet retreat. Picture a retiree in Ohio who bought silver coins near that January high, convinced they were protecting their savings from inflation. Today, staring at a screen showing a 52% drawdown, that same retiree is asking a very simple, very human question. Did I make a terrible mistake, or am I about to be proven right? That question is being asked right now in living rooms across the country, and Monday may go a long way toward answering it. But here's where everything changes. Underneath that quiet $58 price tag, there are three separate forces converging on the exact same Monday morning. Forces that almost never line up together. And when they collide, the metal that everyone stopped paying attention to has a habit of moving faster, harder, and more violently than gold ever does. If you're interested in money, investing, gold, silver, and protecting your financial future, subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. Because every week, we break down the biggest financial stories in simple English. The kind of stories Wall Street assumes you'll never notice until it's too late. So let's start with the obvious question. Why Monday specifically? Monday morning brings one of the most underrated economic releases of the entire month. The ISM Manufacturing Survey, alongside fresh construction spending data, and the final reading of the S&P Global Manufacturing Index. On the surface, this sounds like the most boring sentence in financial television. Factory data, spending numbers, who cares? Retirees should care, because these numbers are read by bond traders within seconds, and bond traders decide, within minutes, whether the US dollar gets stronger or weaker. And the dollar is the single most powerful lever on the price of silver in your pocket, your jewelry box, or your investment account. Here's the mechanic almost nobody explains simply. Silver, like gold, is priced in US dollars around the world. When the dollar strengthens, it takes fewer dollars to buy the same ounce, so the price tends to fall. When the dollar weakens, it takes more dollars, so the price tends to rise. A single manufacturing report released at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on a random Monday has the power to nudge that currency in either direction. And silver, unlike gold, does not nudge gently. It lurches. Think of it like a family filling up their car at the gas station. Gasoline is priced in dollars too. When the dollar buys less, the pump price creeps up. And everyone notices immediately because it happens at a place they visit every week. Silver works the same way, just quieter. Because most families don't check the silver price the way they check the gas pump. But the mechanism is identical. A weaker dollar means everything priced in dollars, oil, groceries, and yes, silver, tends to cost more. A stronger dollar does the opposite. Monday's data is essentially a referendum on which direction that dollar is about to lean. Why does silver lurch instead of drift? This is the part almost nobody understands until it's already happened to their portfolio. Silver is a much smaller market than gold. Far less money is required to move its price meaningfully. Analysts have a name for this, high beta. In practice, it means that when gold moves 1%, silver has historically moved 2 to 3 times as much in either direction. A calm 1% slide in gold on disappointing factory data could translate into a 2 or 3% air pocket in silver by the time New York trading closes. That is not a theory. That is the pattern silver has repeated again and again throughout this year. Imagine two boats sitting in the same harbor during a storm. Gold is the larger, heavier vessel. It rocks, but slowly, and it takes a genuine storm to really move it. Silver is the smaller boat tied up right next to it. The exact same wave that gently rocks gold can send silver's smaller boat slamming against the dock. Same wave, wildly different outcome. That's the relationship between these two metals, and it's why silver traders watch gold's reaction to news almost as closely as they watch silver itself, because gold's calm response often previews the far more dramatic version about to hit silver minutes later. Now, here's the part most people miss. Monday's data isn't landing in a vacuum. It's landing 3 days after the Federal Reserve, under Chair Kevin Warsh, chose to leave interest rates unchanged. On the surface, that sounds like relief. No hike, no shock, steady as she goes. But underneath the calm statement, something unusual happened. 3 policymakers on the committee dissented, and they didn't want to hold rates. They wanted to raise them further. Markets are now pricing in roughly a 6 in 10 chance of an actual rate hike by September, not a cut. That detail alone should stop you. For most of the last 2 years, the entire silver and gold rally was built on the assumption that the Fed was done tightening and that cuts were coming. If that assumption cracks, the foundation underneath this year's precious metals story cracks with it. Think about what a rate hike actually does to a family. Higher rates mean higher borrowing costs on car loans, credit cards, and mortgages. They also mean investors can earn more just parking cash in a savings account or a treasury bond without touching a volatile metal like silver. That competition for capital is one of the quiet reasons silver has been cut nearly in half since January, even while the deeper structural story underneath it hasn't changed at all. Here's a mini cliffhanger worth sitting with. If the Fed truly does hike in September, silver bulls lose one of their favorite talking points overnight, the idea that easier money was coming to rescue precious metals. But if the factory data due Monday comes in weak enough, it could actually undercut the case for a hike before September even arrives, forcing traders to unwind those hawkish bets in real time. Which version of the story wins may start taking shape the moment Monday's numbers cross the wire. Almost nobody noticed this next detail either. While the Fed debate plays out in Washington, the U.S. military has continued launching strikes on targets in Iran in response to earlier attacks on American assets in the Middle East. Oil prices have stayed elevated because of it, and there have even been reports that a foreign central bank quietly intervened in currency markets in recent weeks to defend its own weakening currency against the dollar. A sign of just how much stress this conflict is putting on the global financial system far beyond the Middle East itself. Elevated oil prices feed directly into inflation, the very thing the Fed is trying to control. This is the hidden connection almost no one draws a straight line between. A barrel of oil in the Persian Gulf, a factory report in Ohio, and the silver ring sitting in a family's safety deposit box in Kansas. They are not separate stories. They are the same story, told in 3 different rooms. Picture a family filling their car with gasoline, unaware that the extra few dollars they just spent at the pump traced back to a missile strike thousands of miles away, which nudged oil prices higher, which fed into an inflation report, which influenced a Federal Reserve vote, which is now, at this very moment, influencing whether the silver coins in their kitchen drawer are worth more or less by Friday. That is not an exaggeration. That is simply how interconnected the modern financial system has become. So picture Monday morning like this. A factory survey comes out weaker than expected. Bond yields dip. The dollar softens. Silver, sitting at $58, catches a bid and jumps toward 60. Or picture the opposite. The factory survey beats expectations, hawkish Fed pricing gets reinforced, the dollar firms up, and silver slides toward the mid-50s before lunchtime. Both scenarios are being actively discussed by traders right now. Neither is guaranteed. That uncertainty itself is the story. Because uncertainty, when combined with a market this thin, this leveraged, and this emotionally scarred from the January collapse, tends to produce moves that overshoot in whichever direction it breaks. Now, here's a contradiction that trips up even experienced investors. If silver is down more than 50% from its highs, shouldn't the buy the dip crowd already be flooding back in? You would think so. But look at what's actually happening underneath the surface, all away from the daily price ticker. Silver inventories held on the COMEX exchange in New York are sitting near multi-year lows. Physical premiums, the extra amount buyers in Asia are willing to pay above the spot price to get real, physical silver in their hands, remain elevated. In plain English, the paper price is falling while the appetite for the actual metal is not. That's a contradiction that historically does not last forever. Either the physical buyers are wrong, or the paper price is about to catch up to them. History tells a very different story than most headlines are currently telling. This is not the first time silver has done this. Go back to 1980. Silver spiked to a level that, adjusted for today's money, would be worth roughly $200 an ounce. Then it spent the next 45 years mostly disappointing anyone who bought at the top. 45 years. That's not a typo, and it's not a small detail. It's the reason so many older investors treat silver with suspicion. And it's also exactly why younger investors, who never lived through that decade, keep getting surprised by how sharply this metal can move in both directions. Silver's very nature is boom, correction, long quiet stretch, and then boom again. The question nobody can answer with certainty is which chapter we're in right now, the correction or the pause before the next boom. Grandparents who lived through that era often tell the same story. A spike so sharp it felt like the natural order of money itself had changed, followed by decades so quiet that an entire generation simply stopped paying attention to silver altogether. That silence is exactly why so few people were positioned for this year's surge in the first place. And it's a pattern worth remembering the next time silver goes quiet again, because quiet in this market has never once meant finished. Here's an unexpected statistic that puts today's move in perspective. Analysts at the Silver Institute currently project this will be the 6th consecutive year the world has used more silver than it has mined. Some estimates put that gap as high as 160 to 200 million ounces annually. Silver isn't only a shiny investment metal. More than half of global demand now comes from industrial use: solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, even artificial intelligence hardware. Every time a new solar farm goes up, every time a new EV rolls off an assembly line, a little more silver disappears from the available supply, permanently, into wiring and circuitry that will never be melted back down. That is the part of this story that has nothing to do with Monday's data release, and everything to do with why so many analysts believe the current price weakness may be temporary rather than structural. Picture a warehouse somewhere in Nevada, filled with silver bars stacked on wooden pallets. Every solar panel factory order that gets placed, every new data center built to train artificial intelligence models, quietly draws down that warehouse a little further, ounce by ounce, day after day, with almost no one watching it happen. Unlike gold, which mostly sits in vaults untouched for decades, a huge share of silver used industrially is gone for good, melted, alloyed, sealed inside circuit boards that will never be recycled. That's what makes a silver shortage fundamentally different from a gold shortage. Gold can, in theory, always be found again in someone's vault. A meaningful share of silver, once used, simply doesn't come back. But here's where everything changes again. Even with that 6-year deficit, forecasts for where silver goes next are almost comically far apart, which tells you just how uncertain professional traders really are. The average forecast across major bullion banks surveyed sits around $79 to $80 an ounce. That's meaningfully above today's price, but the range around that average is enormous. Some forecasters see silver falling toward the mid-50s if key technical support breaks. Others, at major banks like Bank of America, have floated bull case scenarios well above $100 if physical shortages intensify further. When the smartest people on Wall Street disagree by that much, it usually means one thing: nobody actually knows, and anyone promising you certainty is selling you something. Now here's a contradiction almost nobody in the mainstream financial press has fully reconciled. The same forecasters warning that silver could fall toward the mid-50s in the short term are often the exact same voices projecting 70, 80, even triple-digit prices further out. That isn't hypocrisy. It's a reflection of how differently short-term trading dynamics and long-term structural forces behave in this particular market. In the short run, silver answers to interest rates, the dollar, and fear. Over a longer stretch of months and years, it answers to something much harder to fake: how many ounces physically exist versus how many the world actually needs. Confusing those two time frames is exactly how retail investors end up panic selling at the worst possible moment, or panic buying at the top, chasing a headline instead of understanding which force is actually driving the price that day. Now for the reality check that every investor, retiree, and everyday saver needs to hear clearly. Silver has always been a battleground metal between two very different forces. On one side, industrial reality, solar panels, electronics, a genuine and growing supply deficit that doesn't care what the Federal Reserve does. On the other side, financial reality, interest rates, the dollar, and investor psychology, which can push silver up or down in the short term regardless of what factories actually need. Monday's data sits squarely in that second category. It will not change how many ounces of silver a solar company needs this year, but it could absolutely change how traders feel about risk for the next several weeks. And feelings in a thin, high beta market like silver can move prices just as fast as facts. There's also a seasonal wrinkle almost nobody mentions on financial television. August and September have historically been two of the weaker months of the year for stock markets. When broader markets get shaky, some investors sell everything, including gold and silver, simply to raise cash, a pattern traders call a liquidity event. Others do the opposite and rotate into precious metals as a safe harbor. Which behavior wins out this particular August may depend less on silver's own fundamentals and more on how nervous Wall Street feels about everything else happening at the same time. Earnings season, the approaching midterm election cycle, and lingering questions about how much further the Fed is willing to go. The same week also happens to be one of the busiest corporate earnings weeks of the entire summer, with major companies across retail, technology, and energy all reporting results within days of each other. Most viewers will never connect a technology company's earnings report to the price of silver, but large investment funds often do exactly that. If stock market earnings disappoint and fear spreads across trading floors, some of that fear-driven selling spills directly into commodities, gold and silver included, regardless of what silver's own supply and demand picture looks like. A market this interconnected rarely lets any single asset move entirely on its own logic. And just one day after Monday's factory data, on Tuesday, another report lands: the government's measure of job openings across the country. Fewer job openings than expected would signal a cooling economy, which historically makes the case for future rate cuts, not hikes. directly clashing with the current hawkish narrative. More job openings than expected would do the opposite, reinforcing the case for higher rates. In other words, whatever direction silver moves on Monday could either be confirmed or completely reversed by Tuesday afternoon. This is not a one-day story. It's the opening chapter of a very tense week. So why should an ordinary family with no trading account and no interest in commodities actually care about any of this? Because silver and gold sit quietly inside far more of everyday life than people realize. They sit inside retirement portfolios through mining stocks and ETFs. They sit inside the cost of solar installations that more households are adding to their roofs. They sit inside the psychology of an entire generation of savers who watched inflation erode their purchasing power over the last several years and started asking, for the first time, what it actually means to hold something the government can't simply print more of. Whether or not you personally own an ounce of silver, the forces moving it this Monday, inflation, interest rates, war, industrial demand, are the exact same forces moving your paycheck, your mortgage rate, and your retirement account. Think about a young worker just starting their first job, contributing to a retirement account for the very first time, watching a small slice of that account allocated automatically into a broad commodities fund they never even chose by name. They may never once think about silver directly, but the same Monday data release that moves silver also moves the value of that retirement contribution, quietly, in the background, year after year, long before that worker ever plans to retire. Financial markets rarely announce themselves loudly in daily life. They work in the background, compounding decisions most people never consciously made. Here's the bigger pattern underneath everything we've just walked through. Every major swing in silver this year has been triggered by the collision of two things: a real, structural, slow-moving story, the supply deficit, the industrial demand, the scars from 1980, and a fast-moving, emotional, headline-driven story, a Fed decision, a Middle East strike, a single economic report landing on a random Tuesday or Monday. The slow story sets the stage. The fast story decides the timing. Monday is a fast story day, and fast story days, layered on top of a slow story backdrop this tense, are exactly when markets catch people off guard. That doesn't mean panic, it means paying attention. Because here's the powerful realization sitting underneath this entire Monday setup. The people who get blindsided by moves like this are rarely the ones who understood the forces at play. They're the ones who were only watching the price without understanding why the price moves. A 5% swing in silver in either direction is not random noise to someone who has followed this story. It's the visible surface of a much deeper argument happening right now between central bankers, factory data, oil traders, and a physical market that refuses to behave the way the paper price says it should. So will Monday be the day silver breaks lower, dragged down by a stronger dollar and hawkish Fed repricing? Or will it be the day a weaker than expected factory number cracks the dollar and sends silver sprinting back towards $60 and beyond? Nobody can promise you the answer, and anyone who does is not being honest with you. What history, data, and the structure of this market can tell you is this: the ingredients for a surprise are all sitting on the table at the same time, on the same morning, for the first time in weeks. Markets often react most violently not to the biggest news, but to news that arrives when almost nobody was positioned for it. That's what makes Monday different. Not certainty, convergence. The factory data, the Fed's hawkish undertone, the war-driven oil pressure, the historic supply deficit, and a physical market quietly refusing to confirm the falling paper price. All of it lands on the same 24 hours. Whichever direction silver breaks, it likely won't be a small move. And whether you own an ounce of it or not, understanding why it moves the way it does may be one of the more valuable financial lessons of this entire year. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. More powerful financial insights are coming next.